up a chair and sit down. It's time for Music with Mason.
Hello and welcome to Music with Mason. My name is Mason Fall. I am here joined with the independent pop artist from Iowa City, Dizzy Bridges. How are you doing today, Dizzy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Just to get started, Dizzy Bridges they just released their song, Let This Wander, and they're also pretty well known for their songs Without Words, Balanced in Midair, and High Above. So you recently released your song, Let This Wander, back in October, right?
Yeah. It was actually kind of an outtake from the album that I put out, a year ago on the day. I put it out Valentine's last year. It's called Love Songs, Odes, and Other Musings. And Let This Wander, I couldn't figure out how I wanted the intro to go. So I sat on that for quite a while, but then I figured out a classic fade-in was the way to go. So
nice.
Just months after the fact, I was able to put that one out. So yeah, it's good to see that one get a release.
All right. So we're going to go back in time. How exactly did you get into music, and how did you know this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I was to kind of put it in narrative form, I would say, once upon a time, I was a fifth grade trumpet player in, small town Iowa. And what I remember is that our fifth grade ensemble did a brass rendition of Hey Jude, Lennon and McCartney. And I remember really liking that. And I knew that my dad was big into the Beatles and he had kind of a Beatles CD collection. So kind of dug into that and really liked that and kind of just fell down the rabbit hole from there. I remember he had this it was like a black wicker basket in our living room that had a bunch of CDs in it. And he kind of told me, Lennon and McCartney, they're songwriters and, they make all their own music. So, if this is something that excites you, then, you should get into songwriter music. So I remember he was trying to show me, like a lot more folky kind of stuff. Like he was big into Townes Van Zandt. He was trying to show me this Townes Van Zandt CD, but I was flipping through the wicker basket and there was a Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Wilco. I just remember that really stark album cover really caught my eye, and putting that on when you're in fifth grade is just insane. The arrangements on that are pretty nuts. And after that, I was pretty well hooked into writing songs. Yeah. So that's my long-winded answer to that question.
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah. So I looked
good stuff.
I looked through a few interviews that you've done in the past, and some people compare you to Mac DeMarco. Some people compared you to the Beatles because you like to influence some of your music into like the Yellow Submarine. Are there any other artists or bands that really inspired you to just start doing like this alternative pop like genre of music?
Yeah. When I was in college, I was big into St. Vincent. I remember when her self-titled album came out, I must have been like freshman or sophomore, and really, really enjoying how, kind of crazy but accessible it was at the same time. Like that, I mean, it's pretty much a dance pop record, but it's got some like pretty crazy killer guitar tones on it, and just really enjoying that. I remember getting a handful of guitar pedals because of the pedals that she would use, kind of tone chasing for a minute there. But yeah, she was a big influence when I was kind of starting the project, and then kind of some of the early Tame Impala stuff, Dr. Dog, Street Dive. Yeah. All big parts of the Dizzy Bridges sound, I would say.
All right. Yeah, cool. So I have a few questions here from your past of like you just starting your music career. I wanted to know if you remembered any of these. So to start
Okay,
off,
interesting.
do you remember playing at Iowa City's Yacht Club?
Oh yeah, I remember the Yacht Club. It's now a comedy club. I forget what they like Joystick maybe might be the new name, but yeah, I remember I was in this college band called Alphabet, and we would play there quite a bit, and was in another college band called Waverly, and we would play there. So yeah, I do actually really miss that place. They used to have these jam nights on like Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and going down there and borrowing a friend's bass and playing down there. Just kind of, you put your name on the sign up sheet, and it's kind of luck of the draw, and you're just kind of like jamming with whoever's up on stage. That was a really fun vibe. Yeah, I think when I turned 21, I actually might have gone out there for drinks and had some whiskey sours as like my first legal drink. So yeah, memories run deep there at the Yacht Club. R.I.P.
Oh yeah. So when you say they draw like random bands out of the hat, are they all the same genre, or could you be playing with like a blues band, a punk band, or like another alternative band, or was it all the same genre?
So these were not like dedicated bands per se. Like these were they were called jam nights, and basically there would be like one host up there with the clipboard, and they would just kind of go through in order by whoever signed up. So like the first person who signed up to play drums, they're sitting on drums. The next person who signed up to play bass, they're playing bass. Yeah. So it's really fun, because like I said, it's total luck of the draw. Like you could either get like an amazing drummer, or just a beginner drummer, and you kind of have to like adjust accordingly.
So
they've since moved some jam nights at Gabe's, and I've gone there on Tuesdays on occasion. Super fun.
All right, yeah, cool. So, do you remember something called The Hard Life, KRUI 89.7 FM?
Gosh, I did a couple radio interviews with KRUI. I think Hard Life would have been hosted by my friend Chase. Gosh, this was forever ago. So this would have been sort of around the time that I put out my first batch of songs, which would have been back in 2018, if I remember right. I think that's right. Yeah, it was between that radio show and Local Tunes were the two that I really remember listening to a lot of and being a part of on occasion. Now, if you were to have dug up actual interview questions from that time, I would be very impressed. That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah. So, do you remember something called PATV Studios?
Oh yeah, it's the public access TV station. They're sort of off Gilbert Street. I don't really have a TV in my apartment anymore, so it's been a while since I've seen any public access. But I remember the night that we kind of shot that, it was like maybe it was like a showcase of like local artists and stuff, and I had like a little segment on there where I was playing stuff from that same 2018 album. I remember that being a pretty interesting night too, because that night I wanted there to be kind of like this visual component to that segment. And I had a friend of mine who was in the art school, and he had like an easel, and I told him like, hey, we should have you like, while I'm playing my songs up there, you should make a painting in real time. And, that'd be, like Bob Ross vibes or something. But he had to duck out at the last minute. And so we had to kind of scramble. And I had another acquaintance of mine do finger painting instead. And that was, I mean, it must have been interesting to watch, but it was not ideal. I remember being kind of pissed about that. Like, damn, like, why isn't Matt here making like a really cool painting where instead we got this finger painting business?
Right.
Yeah. Good times. That was funny.
So in one of your early Facebook posts, you mentioned that you own a collection of pedals, but one that really stood out to me was a BAG9 bagpipe pedal. Do you still own that pedal?
Man, I don't know if you have your wires crossed or anything, but I don't remember making any sort of bagpipe guitar pedal purchase. Gosh, maybe the lines are all blurring together. And it's been a minute, but at the moment I'm looking at my board right now. I cannot say that I have the bagpipe pedal on my board. I'm trying to wonder. I'm wondering what that would even sound like. Gosh, wonder what sort of like use that would have.
Do you have a favorite or top 3 favorite pedals that you own right now?
Oh yeah, I've got this pedal. It's called the Electro Harmonix Memory Man, and gosh, it's a ton of fun to play around with because it's a delay pedal, a chorus, and a vibrato pedal all in one. So, I mean, if you're asking me to list 3 pedals, that's 3 distinct effects all rolled into one. And the reason that I got it was this band called Spoon. They have this keyboard player who runs his keyboards through this pedal. And you can get some really crazy sounds by actually manipulating the knobs like in real time. So instead of just like, treating it like a regular pedal where you just kind of stomp it on and off, if you're down there, like on your knees at the actual pedal board and like twisting the knobs, like kind of like while you're hammering on and pulling off on the guitar, like you can get some crazy swooping sounds and like the delay being manipulated in real time does these, crazy distorting effects. It's wild. I love that pedal. I haven't even really scratched the surface of what's possible with something like that. Right now I have it behind a TC Electronics reverb pedal, and at some point what I want to do is get like a really spacious reverb and then see how that becomes affected by a delay repeating. So like you hear like maybe a really cavernous spatial reflection getting repeated over and over, what that would sort of inform in terms of like listener experience and sense of space sounds really interesting to me. And I definitely want to do something with that in the future, but it's a whole can of worms that I won't go into at the moment. I digress.
All right. So, do you remember playing at a place called the Trumpet Blossom Cafe?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Trumpet Blossom's a really nice space. They got good drinks there, good vegetarian food, really good fries. And actually we got a show coming up. I'll be playing with my live bands for the album release show of Good Morning Midnight. They're putting out, I believe, their 4th album at the end of March. I can't remember if it's March 30th we'll be playing there. So really looking forward to that. I've been working with Charlie from Good Morning Midnight out at Flat Black Studios. He's helping mix my 4th album. Speaking of 4th albums. But yeah, it's just a nice kind of soft pollination of artistry here in our city. So it'll be really nice to kind of see them, put that album out and celebrate that release at Trumpet Blossom. Really nice.
I'm sorry
Killer too.
interrupt you, but you're getting a little muffled on your end. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I've been having problems with this all day. Does it sound any better
Oh yeah,
over?
it sounds better now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened before.
Okay, my bad. Yeah,
No,
I think
no,
it has something to do with my cell service.
It's
I
all
hope this is
good.
not live.
So, you got on something called Little Village Magazine. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So, what was Little Village Magazine? What is that?
Yeah. So that's a free magazine that's out here in Iowa City, and they do album reviews and whatnot. And I think when I had put out that debut album, I had submitted it for review, and they wrote some really nice things about that first album. I really wished they were able to review my second and third, but at the time I wasn't living in Iowa City. When I was making my second album, I was in Austin, Texas for work.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, I moved to Chicago for a minute.
Speaking of Texas, I was interested about that. You played in Texas at somewhere called the Carousel Lounge.
Yeah, that was a kind of a dingy little dive bar. I played like a number of different places there, just solo, either just me and a guitar or just me and a piano. I played there maybe once or twice, a couple places on the UT Austin campus. I remember this place called the Love Goat. I never really made headway there. When I moved out there, kind of like pie in the sky dream of getting a band together and really kind of hitting the live music circuit out there. But right as I was kind of finding my footing with the move out there, the pandemic happened. So we all kind of know how that panned out. But yeah, I mean, in a weird way, it kind of, with the pandemic, it landed me back in Iowa City. And I was actually just on the phone with a friend earlier tonight. And we were talking about, gosh, yeah, Iowa City is, it's a small, tight-knit community, but, it's for something. I really enjoy it out here. And I wouldn't have moved back if I didn't like it, So.
Right on.
It's good stuff.
Thank you, Elizabeth Kang. Who is Elizabeth Kang?
Oh, yeah. That's a funny story. So I frequent Reddit, and I'm a big fan of. There's a songwriting forum on Reddit. It's called r/songwriting, and you can go there to get advice on works in progress or things that you'd like to workshop. And I had this kind of finger picking 12/8 arpeggiated thing on an acoustic. I really liked the chords, but it was so complicated in terms of just the rhythmic pattern that I was doing that I couldn't sing and play at the same time. So I posted a short little video of this song fragment to that forum, and I kind of just put out some feelers and said, if anybody is able to write a vocal melody over the top of this, that'd be great. And for the next day or two, I got some kind of flippant responses, and people just kind of saying, oh yeah, that sounds cool, and maybe I'll do something with it. And then later I got this private message from Elizabeth, and she had already kind of created this whole melody, saying this beautiful top line in their just her iPhone, just her voice memo, whatever that's called. And I said, I love this, let's work together. So, I recorded a more full arrangement of that where, I kind of made that guitar part, more like song length, instead of 30 seconds, it was more like 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So then I, kind of threw that curveball at her and like, can you write, another verse and a bridge to this? And, she took her iPhone into her car. I think she's based in Houston. I never actually learned where she was from. A very one-off kind of situation. But she texted me and kind of said, listen to my iPhone in my car and here it is. And, just sent me the digital file of it. And I just dropped it into the project that I was working on and we put that together. So it's a song that came out late 2021 called Whispers. And she's doing the guest vocal on that. And she's very much a super important part of the songwriting process for that song. We've always wanted to work together again, but just never kind of ironed out the logistics of that. But, it's very happenstance, very coincidental how that all kind of fell together. It was just, if she had not messaged me on that one, Reddit platform, that song never would have happened. So I look back on that song with a lot of fondness.
Yeah. All right. So we are down to our final couple of questions here. So to start off, you've already told us that you've moved down to Texas and then you've moved back to Chicago. Then you moved over back to Iowa City. Do you have a favorite state out of all the states you've played in?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I like I said, I mean, I love Iowa City, and I wouldn't have come back here if I didn't like it. That being said, I do really like both Austin and Chicago for their own reasons. Like, I think they're both really great food cities. Like, I really enjoy the food in both of those places. And some of the venues in Chicago are just incredible. I never really got a chance to play much in Chicago because that was like deep pandemic times. But I don't know. There's something about Iowa City. It's just, maybe it's a little bit more accessible. There's less noise. Things are less vertical, less compressed, just socially speaking.
Right.
That I really like about it. I enjoy that it's a small community, but it's very welcoming. And, when I moved back, I was a little worried, like, oh man, do I even know anybody here still? But, it skipped a couple beats there right at the start because I moved back last May. But, as soon as I, went to a couple summer events and, bumped into some people, I bumped into my buddy Noah at the Jazz Fest that summer, and he's now in the live iteration of Dizzy. He's playing keys for me. Just little coincidental things like that. Like, oh yeah, the people here are nice, and it's easy to kind of fall back into a groove. So, yeah, my heart's in Iowa.
All right,
I gotta give it up.
You gotta love Iowa. So
Heartland, baby.
With that being said, we can still include Texas and Illinois, but just overall, out of all of the venues and, places you've played at, all the cafes, all the bars you've played at, do you have a favorite place to play?
It's a little bit of a dive, but I do love Gabe's. Give it up. It's a classic. I mean, I've played there a lot. Crystal, who runs the sound there, typically, she does a killer job. Denny and Dan and all those folks are, just total sweethearts. And, we got a few shows lined up there at Gabe's, one on the 21st and one on the 23rd. So just next week. So really looking forward to that. Gotta love Gabe's.
Out of almost every single person I've interviewed on this show, at least 75% of people said Gabe's was their favorite place to play at. So it's just that good.
I mean, it's a classic. Yeah, I mean, the acts that have gone through just the barflies who are frequenting that place. You know, it's a vibe. It's a good time. It's a good hang.
Yeah. I better get down there and meet Gabe, because we gotta set up like a partner deal right now, because there's so many people that love Gabe's.
Brought to you by Gabe's.
Brought to you by Gabe's. So
heck yeah.
I have a very generic question that I ask some of my people that I've interviewed so far. If you could have one final meal before you pass away, what would it be and why?
Oh, in terms of like the food?
Oh yeah.
Or okay. That's a good question. Well, now that I'm thinking about it and just bringing up Austin and Chicago as good food cities, I'm thinking of like those cuisines. I mean, gosh, there's this place in Austin. It was like a 10-minute walk from my first apartment that I had there, called the Taco More. And they just had the most amazing chorizo tacos. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I could, if money was no consequence and I could just, kind of pop over to that one taco joint whenever I wanted, I would totally do it. So, I would have no complaints, just a good old chorizo taco and some churros.
Right. That actually
that's
sounds
a good
really,
last meal.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
But
delicious.
What about to drink?
Oh yeah, they had good horchata there.
Okay.
You gotta complete the meal. Just entirely some Tex-Mex cuisine with some good Tex-Mex beverage.
Heck,
why not?
Yeah, you gotta get chorizo, churro, and horchata. That just sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, that's the holy trifecta right there, baby.
That's a trifecta, baby. So
good stuff.
We're down to our final 2 questions here. My first one being, what is the future of Dizzy Bridges? Are we going to be seeing more tour dates? Are we going to be seeing another music video? Are we going to be getting another album? I know the 4th is soon to be released, or is it already released?
Oh, it's soon to be released. So I'm working on it right now with Charlie Cacciatore from Good Morning Midnight. He does some mix engineer and recording engineering kind of stuff up at Flat Black, and I just kind of pick up the occasional date there monthly. Like, hey, I'll text Charlie like, hey, what do you have open for February? Or what do you have open for next month? And I'll just every once in a while pick up a couple days. The good news is that it's all recorded. We got all the drums, all the bits and bobs of the arrangements. It's all tracked. I usually record the bulk of that stuff at home. So I kind of will have him drop it into Pro Tools, and we're just kind of organizing right now, making sense of it and mixing it. So we hope to get that done just whenever. There's really no deadline on it. I mean, that's the nice thing about being an independent artist, is like nobody's really cracking the whip and telling you like, have this into the label by XYZ. So, since it's self-released, I can kind of just take my time with it and really get into the weeds with some of that stuff. But long story short, yeah, the 4th album, I want to have it out sometime this year, and there'll definitely be, and hopefully music videos plural to go with it. I think if I were to paint a realistic time frame, getting my ducks in a row, getting all that kind of like ironed out in the spring, and promoting the album in the summer. I'm still kind of getting my toes re-wetted with, some booking stuff. It's never been my favorite part of the process, organizing that, but, slowly but surely kind of lining up some dates, and, maybe, who knows, maybe like a little mini tour in the summer to kind of promote some of that stuff. But, yeah, all good stuff on the horizon. 4th album will be coming out. It's a little bit of a concept album too. I mean, it's not totally a concept album, but there's some themes and stuff like that weaved into some of the lyrics. So really looking forward to having people hear that.
Oh yeah.
Sometime in 2024. we'll see.
Oh yeah. You got to be on the lookout for that. I mean, that just sounds awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
it's a fun vibe. Yeah.
So for the final question, I've asked every single band and musician that I've had on the show. What would you tell the young and aspiring musicians and performers who really need the encouragement and motivation to get on stage and do what they love?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, some of the advice that I got, just to kind of really round this out full circle to what I was saying about my dad's CD collection in the black wicker basket back when I was in 5th grade. He gave me some really good advice because, he's a visual artist. So he had a lot of really insightful things to tell me as a young lad, just about art and how to be thinking about art or anything creative. What he had told me was, when I was starting out, learn a bunch of songs, listen to music that you like and learn about it, and just be a curious person, and things will sort of fall in line after that. Because when you're learning the songs, you're learning how to be a creative person. You can kind of see things are put together, and once you can kind of see the structure of things, you can structure things for yourself. And once you kind of see that happen, you can start writing your own songs, and eventually your own album, and your own albums plural, and how are you going to promote your album? You got to book shows, and it's kind of a snowball effect. If you're engaged in the creative act and you're a curious person and you're learning about other people making art, being creative, it's only a sustaining thing, and it's a very fulfilling thing to be a part of. So I guess to boil that all down, just be curious, and good things will follow.
Yeah, 100% agree. Just do what you love and learn from your mistakes,
Totally. Yeah. Words to live by.
So unfortunately, that is the end of our interview here, Dizzy Bridges. I just want to say thank you so much for being on my show. You're super talented, and we're so happy to know that you're on your 4th album right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a pleasure speaking with you. Tough. Yeah.
So where can we find your music, and where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty bad about social media and posting too frequently, but you can find me on Instagram. It's just _ Dizzy Bridges _ on Instagram, and then just Dizzy Bridges everywhere else, Facebook, Spotify, Bandcamp, YouTube, all the hits, all the classics, all the regular spots. I'm there, baby. All over the internet.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being with me here today, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds good. Take her easy.
And that will do it for today's episode of Music with Mason. If you enjoyed this, please consider sharing this with your friends and family and all of your loved ones out there, because I'm sure they would love to hear about the rock and roll, art pop, indie music, everything that we have on the show. More coming soon. We are going to be hopefully heading down to a blues concert and meeting with some of the blues bands that we get to meet up front and close and personal. And it might even be live. So, keep your eyes out for that. Huge thank you to Dizzy Bridges for being on my interview today. And just make sure that you guys go check him out. His Bandcamp will be in the description below, along with his YouTube and his Instagram. Go ahead and check him out. Thank you guys so much for enjoying these interviews. And if you love them, please consider subscribing. It'll support me, and you'll be notified of all the interviews I do next time. This has been Mason, Music with Mason. See you later.
Music with Mason gains its support from viewers like you. Thank you.